So now we're back in the area of Forgathy's bottom, and let's take a ride up the zigzag S-corners of Forgathy's hill. And this will take us to the top of the hill that overlooks St. Peters. Rather steep zigzag incline going up here. Just been passed by a massive dump truck. The driving skills of these truck drivers, these narrow winding roads of Montserrat, simply amazing. So another bend. One more to go and we're at the top of the hill. So this is Forgathy's hilltop. Heading down the side of the mountain. And this will take us down into St. Peters. On the right of us is an area called Providence. Coming up straight ahead on the right, just make out the steeple of the St. Peters Anglican Church. That's it there, St. Peters Anglican Church. And straight ahead of us, the sign that says, "Welcome to St. Peters." Road here branching off to the left, as the sign says, leads to Zion Hill. Compared to some of the other localities in Montserrat, St. Peters is still not as densely populated, coming into cheap end now. Still not as densely populated as some of the other areas, but nevertheless the population has increased. Still quite a degree of building activity going on here because many people have chosen to live in the St. Peters area. The St. Peters actually sits between Salem, Alveston Old Town, and the St. John's area, which is now the center of commercial and business activity. Of course, before you get to St. John's, you pass through Woodlands if you're coming towards the north from the Salem area. Quite interestingly, nowadays when people refer to the south, sign says we're entering Woodlands. When people refer to the south, it might caught you off guard because it did catch me off guard. They're actually referring to Salem. So Salem is now the new south. So this is the Woodlands area. Historically, a fairly upscale residential area. Developed lands, subdivided and made available for housing late 60s into the 70s to attract the villa tourism industry, which is a hallmark of the Alveston area that we'll shortly visit. But that also extended over to the Woodlands area. We'll stay on the main road as we want to take a drive through from St. Peters, through Woodlands and into Salem, then down into Olveston. We are surrounded by trees. It's a pretty wooded area, hence the name Woodlands, fairly self-explanatory. Road over here in very good condition. Sign on the right pointing to the still very popular Woodlands beach, post-volcano, one of the few remaining beaches that we have on the island. There's Woodlands Beach, that's accessible. Woodlands Beach, Limekiln Beach, Cars Bay, a bit of that, and Little Bay is now the main beach on the island. You can still access Fox's Bay and Old Road Bay as well as Isles Bay. But easier access really is to the beaches I mentioned before: Woodlands, Limekiln, Cars Bay and Little Bay. You most likely would have heard of Runaway Gut. This is the Runaway Gut area, and as we approach the sign ahead, it reads Runaway Gut. If you drink from this burn, to Montserrat you will return. The unmistakable Irish connection. I'll just position the camera so that you can see. Shall we put it this way, what the fuss is all about? So legend has it that if you drink from this spring, the outflow from this spring, you will have no alternative but to return to Montserrat. That's what the legend says, and such is the, I don't know, whatever properties they are of Runaway Gut water. Montserratians generally tend to pronounce it so that it sounds as if we are saying Runaway Gut. We are actually saying Runaway Gut. It's called Runaway Gut. The water running down from the spring, and it's pure water. That water has been filtrated, coming through charcoal layers in the soil and whatever else it takes to have the water purified. So you can go and have a drink. A lot of people do that, and it's pure water. Now we are entering Salem, as the sign says here. Salem, Glebe, Flemings, Lower Fritz, Happy Hill, Upper Fritz, and Hope. We have a sign on the right saying the Montserrat National Trust, and Montserrat National Trust really is a repository of historical and other information. It's a NGO, a non-governmental organization. They're doing an excellent job of keeping alive and bringing to the fore the history of Montserrat, both the written history of Montserrat as well as the natural history of the island as well. So now we are coming into the village of Salem. I've been speaking about the villages in Montserrat, each with their own unique characteristics. Salem certainly at the top of the scale when it comes to that. Salem has produced a number of musicians, sportsmen and women, writers, people involved in arts and culture and politics. Salem was at one time considered the alternative capital of Montserrat. Normally it is quite bustling, but since the eruption of the volcano, many of the residents of Salem have relocated off island or to other areas in the north of the island. So, as I said on a picture gallery that I did some time ago, easy nowadays like a Sunday in Salem, but a Saturday evening in Salem, well, it's a hive of activity. So we'll take a right here, because Salem adjoins the Olveston Old Town residential developed areas, developed in a form similar to what I spoke about regarding Woodlands a while ago. Mainly focused on the villa tourism industry, so we've had a lot of Americans, expatriates from the UK, particularly Canada, who bought properties here, particularly in the Woodlands, Alveston areas, and that spurred the construction industry as well as the sector of the tourism industry that caters to housekeeping, that element of the service industry. It's called maid service generally. So we are at the border between Salem and Olveston. Just past the sign there for the Alveston House, well-established, very popular, well-known restaurant in Montserrat. Taking a left turn here onto Bishop's View. And we're speaking of high-value real estate in this area and high-end properties as well. And a lot of these properties in this area are walled and gated. Overlooking Olveston is Isles Bay, and we'll get another view of Isles Bay when we come around to the junction. So as we come around, what you're looking at straight ahead is the volcano. Slightly misty today, but it's certainly quite a dramatic view of Sophia Hills volcano in all its, if I should use this term, in all its majesty.